Welcome, Cancer, to your Cancer August 2021 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James. For those of you who are stopping by for the first time, and of course those of you who are subscribers, much love and affection to you. I love to see you each month for our monthly tarot reading. Well, this month, as usual, I'll take 5 cards because 5 is all we need. Each card is jam-packed full of information for you, and the interplay between them and what they throw up is fascinating, particularly for Cancer, which I love doing. I love doing the Cancer readings each month. I won't go into why, but I particularly have a great affection for Cancer. And of course, actually, it was it yesterday or the day before I was doing a reading for one of the Cancer viewers here. And of course, if you'd like a private reading from anywhere in the world, just check out the information below. And check out the website in particular, because I think you'll find it has some interesting information on astrology and clairvoyance. But now, let's get our cards underway for you, shall we? And see what there is in store for Cancer in August 2021. Well, what's the first one here? The Knight of Swords. Hello, Knight of Swords. Now, incidentally, there is some esoteric imagery, so I might use my pen to point out some of the more interesting aspects of the artwork on the card. It seems to me that the developer of the deck is somebody... Look, my daughter found this deck in a flea market, so I really don't know who did it, because it came without any box or white book or white paper. What do you call those things? Little white books. It came without one of those, and I don't know. I hadn't seen the deck myself. That was the Queen of Swords, the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Swords, and the 9 of Swords. Gee, all swords, all swords. Good cards, though, I must say, because they have some good messages here for you. There's the Priestess. There you go, Priestess, and let's see finally what there is. Take something from in the middle, shall we? Why not? And here we have Knight of Wands. Well, as is our usual practice, why don't you come, sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Now, let me just move over a bit so I'll give you some room. Here we go. Now, can you see? Let's deal with the Knight and the Queen of Swords first. See what it has to say. The Knight of Swords. Well, let's have a look at her. Or him, rather. Well, here he is. Now, I'm getting a lot of Gemini around. The reason why I'm getting Gemini here is that in the Greek mythology, or Greek and Roman mythology, Castor and Pollux were the twins that were put up into the stars. And they had an appearance around their head like that, so I'm getting a lot of Gemini around here. That's going to be important to you during this period. So is Taurus. Taurus is also going to be important to you. Now, he's said to be the fire of air. Well, fire and air get on famously, don't they? So this is an energy which is something akin to a windstorm. We're talking about forces of passion originating in the mind. He is the Lord of wind and breezes. Yeah, again, this Gemini influence here, because we have the energy of the mind in Gemini with the stability and determination of Taurus, I think. That's why I think they're going to be important to you. Now, this is a man. Of course, these court cards can be both genders, but it's represented as a man, and I'll refer to him as such for the purposes of this. This is a man who, these are the back of the cards, incidentally. This is a man who I think is active, clever, skillful, fierce and courageous, but is often unreflective, somebody who doesn't spend a lot of time thinking about things. However, he represents the idea of attack, of the violent power of motion applied. He is the wind, the storm, and his moral qualities are skill, subtlety, and cleverness. He is fierce, delicate, courageous, but he can be altogether consumed by his current idea, which comes to him as inspiration, really without thinking about it so much. He is riding here at full gallop, the embodiment of his goal-oriented mental activity. He knows where he is bound to go, and he will not rest until he arrives at his destination. He has a remarkable power of concentration. Thoughts and ideas come to him with lightning speed, and he is a master of imaginative and flexible thinking, which he uses to achieve his goals. His strong intellectual determination, I think, is unified with a deep emotional perceptiveness. Only goals which are emotionally charged can kindle such passion. Body, intellect, and spirit, they're all in harmony, and they're all within him. Now he's carrying two swords, you can see here, one in his left hand and one in his right hand. They represent the two potential energies, yang, which is male, analytical, and yin, which is feminine and intuitive, both of which will be needed in the proper balance in order for him to advance. He appears to be one with his galloping horse, doesn't he? And because of his well-balanced and correctly applied abilities, he is telling you that you will be advancing forward in your life during this period. I think it also speaks to me that you need a clear insight into a problem, and that you'll be working quickly to set goals without letting anything get in the way. It will nevertheless be something of a restless period where you are transitioning and trying to get somewhere else, either in your everyday life or maybe even by traveling. But this is a time, and it's reinforced by this card that comes up, this is a time to listen to the head rather than the heart. Because I get the impression that he is somebody who is more comfortable in his head rather than in expressing his feelings. This knight, I think here, because of this combination of fire and air, can indicate restlessness in all aspects of life. Maybe you want to break free of the workplace. However, what this is saying is that you are in a good position now to forge plans, to set goals, and bring them to fruition. Well, let's have a look at the what? Let's have a look at the Queen of Swords. Hello, Queen of Swords. Yes. Well, of course, I am getting the energy of Libra around here, and also of Virgo, I've got to say. Now, her headdress is of a child, or of a cherub, really. Cherubs were. Cherubim, that's the plural of cherub. Cherubs are real beings or centers of consciousness. They just have a mode of existence which is different to ours at present with us here on Earth. And traditionally, they were, among other things, the guardians of the Garden of Eden. Now, a lot of Libra around here I'm getting, and obviously this is due to this balance that she has here. There is the infinity sign there, and look at this head, which has been, looks like it's been cut away by her, and here are cumulus clouds all around her. So a lot of air and a lot of water in the clouds, because she's the watery part of air. These queens generally esoterically are water. At least that's how the artist has depicted it here, and I don't disagree with it. So the watery part of air, and they're friendly and neutral. She is the queen of the thrones of air. And this is all about making clear decisions based on fact and fairness, similar to the queen herself. Now, I'd say that she is a woman of fairness, as I say. She is somebody who, and this could well be applying to you, whether male or female, graceful, very perceptive, a keen observer, a subtle interpreter, an intense individualist, but also somebody who is confident and gracious. Now, people like her, and this may also be applying to you at this period, she can acquire intense love and devotion from the most unexpected quarters. I think because this head has been cut off here, there's also a feeling that I'm getting here that you should be setting aside your masks. And you know you have masks. You have plenty of masks in your dresser drawers. And renounce the security offered by playing familiar roles. And this means the voluntary giving up of habitual defense mechanisms. By using the sword of penetrating insight, you come to recognize that the masks you wear not only protect and camouflage, but they also separate you from yourself and others. The energetic cutting through of your masks liberates you, and the Queen of Swords leads you out of the surrounding clouds into clarity and openness. I think what this is also saying, and so this is coming through very strongly for you during this month, that you must use your intellect to make an unbiased decision about a situation. Compassion and empathy may distract you, so you must go with your head and not your heart. It's not a time to beat around the bush about a situation. Rather, it is a time to make a decision and to act on it. Cutting through old patterns and masks is necessary, and have the courage of your conviction to move forward. Do you know, I think you are in the process of separating yourself more and more from old roles and behavior patterns. This may bring painful experiences with it, but it's worth it. The clarity you gain frees you. Ask yourself, which are the roles you most easily and most often hide behind? Are you ready to drop them? Observe yourself in different roles. Some you will continue to play, but now with more awareness. And you will play them until you no longer identify yourself with them. But say this to yourself: my only duty in life is to remain true to myself. Well, having looked at Mr. and Mrs. Air, let's have a look at this priestess here. It's another rare card here, but I'll deal with that as we come to it. I won't say anything about it now. Let's have a look at this. The priestess, well, the priestess of the silver star. She is the moon. And this little biblical symbol that you see down here, that biblical Hebrew letter, stands for the word camel. Now, the priestess here is, I suppose, an archetype of the goddess Sophia, the goddess of wisdom. She stands between the pillars of light and darkness, between the divine and earthly, between yin and yang, and she represents the personification of the pillar which is in the middle of those. Now, Boaz, which is the black pillar here, that means strength, and this lighter colored pillar, that's Yakin, that means he establishes. These pillars represent the forces of polarity, or the negative and positive in equilibrium. And this card portrays her cloaked in heavy waters that swirl and coagulate at the stations of the tree of life. I love the way these heart things here refer to what I think is the tree of life. And her lunar headdress, see this here? That is comprised of both the full moon and the crescent moon. She is reflecting the light of the divine, acting through the moon on the sun. Now, that letter, meaning camel, what should we say of that? Well, I think what we can say is that She is the camel crossing the desert of the abyss, the sea behind the veil and source of all waters. This is the step between the ideal and the actual. Her body is said to be the great cup or grail of legend. To drink from this grail is the experience of initiation, to glimpse, well, I guess given the biblical Hebrew attributes here, to glimpse in here, in this scroll here, the Torah scroll of wisdom that she carries. Now, on many portrayals of the high priestess, pomegranates are featured. They tie her in with the mythological story of Persephone and may be associated with the tarot priestess due to her attribution to the moon, I think, and Persephone's story of transience, because Persephone would come up to the earth and then would go back down to the underworld. And here, the pomegranates are shown as seeds within the vine-like hearts. Pomegranate seeds symbolize the beginning and stirrings of life and death. The seeds of the greater mysteries reside in her transformed heart. Now, I think that this priestess here represents what I would call cycles, going with the flow of life. She's a little bit like the Suit of Cups, but she's more spiritually advanced. Now, this is saying here that you should guard against information being withheld from you at this time, secrets, and guard against not trusting your intuition. It's also saying that there's a possibility that someone may be lying to you and not listening clearly to what it is that you have to say. She is in touch with her intuitive abilities and can trust them completely. She perceives and is connected with her own inner voice, the internal guide and healer. This shows outwardly in her trust in and responsibility to herself. And like the camel, which can travel long stretches in the desert without water, you, when you have discovered your own inner spring, can radiate a satisfied sense of self-sufficiency. You find fertile oases in the most innermost reaches of your being. The more you accept yourself and share with others, the deeper the clarity of your perceptions will become. I think that this is also talking to me of balance here with you, and this is also coming from this Queen of Swords, but intuition, highly developed intuition during this period. Insight into things. You'll be seeking independence and you'll have increasing levels of self-knowledge. And certainly you'll be unwilling to limit or restrict yourself. You may be beginning a creative cycle, I think, and asserting your independence because you have an increasing self-esteem and you have become aware of intuition as a gift. It is really a time for discovering the oasis within. This can also represent a platonic relationship, I think, or even a period of alone time to work out what you really want and let your mind process things. And she was also saying this as well, I think. And you understand, of course, that changes on the inside are necessary to make changes on the outside. I think there is a need to connect and be more confident with your intuitive and feminine side. Now, the men, do not be alarmed by that, because we all, male and female, have a mixture of male and female within us. It's just that one aspect dominates over the other. Now, I might deal with this, which is the Knight of Wands. Now he, of course, is the fiery part of fire, esoterically, and he's trammeling away here on this black horse, which has see, esoterically for me, the colour black has an association with two planets of Mars and of Saturn. But with all this fire around here, there's very much Mars associated with it. I also see the fire sign of Sagittarius being important to you. And interestingly, and maybe counterintuitively, I think also Scorpio is going to be important to you. But here he is charging away on his horse, and the imagery really speaks for itself. You can let it work upon you. This is a person, again male or female, that is active, generous, probably quite impetuous, I think, somebody who has a degree of pride with them, but someone who acts very swiftly and very often in an unpredictable way. And there's a certain fierceness to the person as well. Now I have to say that when this card comes in this position and with this Nine of Swords next to it, I think that it's quite possible that there could be unusual, almost revolutionary qualities contained in the events going on around you at the moment. You know, work or in your relationships. Could be unusual, revolutionary things going on, but you should be cool, collected, resolute, and energetic. And be careful of the actions that you take, nothing that hasn't been well thought out. But go forward with an alert confidence in your ability. Because this is talking about you having energy and ambition here, maybe a degree of adventurousness. You'll certainly be very determined. And I have to say this to you. This is a time of this is a time that you are going to be very attractive to other people. This card reaches into your psyche. That's where this moon is coming in. And it can illuminate aspects of your lifestyle, which you may want to say, oh, I should maybe tone something down or start something up to make something more balanced and productive for me. The energy created by increased perception that you have will be set free, and it is now manifest, and like him, it's going to be unstoppable. Even difficult situations are going to move in a constructive direction. And this is here as a warning card. So don't worry, the cavalry has arrived. So even difficult things that you think are difficult are going to move in constructive, worthwhile directions for you. Do you know, this is also saying that this is a time for you to find your vitality, to trust your gut instincts, to let your hair down, give yourself a pep talk, believe that you can do it. There could well be some journeys or traveling going on here. Maybe move quite a long distance away. I'm getting the feeling of changes around jobs. Creative ideas are definitely being brought into action now, and you'll be having the courage of your convictions. So be awake, ready for people or situations which could produce dynamic changes in your consciousness. Be grateful for this gift from existence. Receive it, but don't cling to it. And ask yourself, does your present situation allow your energies to develop and unfold fully? And if not, what must be removed or changed? Seek out situations and opportunities that challenge you. Engage them with all of your energy. And say this to yourself: every challenge which arises helps me grow. Every storm strengthens my roots. Well, let's have a look finally at this Nine of Swords. And have a look at the image and see what it might give you. And see what it might give me. Well, the central sword has a hilt with a winged lion, a creature of the eagle and the lion combined. Now, over the lion's wingspan, an arching form drips poisoned blood. The blade of the sword is buried firmly in the skull of the boar, who screams in rage and pain. This is the anguish of the mind, the gaping mouth of madness and hunger, where words cruel and despairing bring self-inflicted torture. Now, astrologically, this is, what would this be here in the center? It would be Mars in the second decan of Gemini, that first, the 11th of June. Well, the one-pointed nature of Mars does not sit well with the scattered energy of Gemini. Gemini is at the moment is concentrated not on bringing things together, but Gemini is almost on this massive, relentless urge to divide, to create polarity, not with any object in mind, but just generally all over the place. It's completely unfocused. It is, if you like, the period where manifestation is just exploding everywhere through the impulse of Gemini. So things don't get clarified and things don't get seen in a sensible place. There's number 9 here. I have associated there mystically the moon. And what it does is there's a sort of a passivity against the onslaught, the onslaught of Mars. The card can mean feelings of guilt and regret, from which we turn the energies of this card in upon ourselves. Now, you know your Achilles heel better than anybody else. The Achilles heel is a reference to, in Greek mythology, of Achilles' mother, who took Achilles as a baby and wanted to make Achilles impregnable to attack from being killed by anybody, with swords or spears or anything. So she took Achilles into the underworld, held him by the heel, dipped him underneath into the river Styx, which flowed through Hades, the underworld, the realm of the dead. That therefore made him impenetrable to attack, fatal or otherwise, from other people, except for one area, where she held him, the heel, which was kept dry, because she held him by the heel to drip him in. So that was the only place where Achilles was vulnerable. And you know your Achilles heel better than anybody else, don't you? You certainly do. And you can use words in on yourself, sometimes because you've been concerned about not having done something when you should have done something, or doing something that you feel you shouldn't have done. And these things come around, or you didn't stand up for yourself when you thought you should have done. Or there was a relationship that was toxic in the past, and you go back and think about things and turn over and over and over. And these things weigh you down. And sometimes there can be a great degree of feeling of inadequacy or guilt, which is associated with that type of activity, which is talking around. Now, this is not saying that you are going to be doing that during this period, because you've got these other cards here which are actually talking about you being very level-headed about things. So this is a warning to you about ways that you have thought about things in the past and ways in which possibly you might think about things in the future, maybe the near future, so be on guard about it. I think the overriding message that this energy wants me to pass to you at this time with respect to this card is this, that despite what you may believe, you can disappoint people and still be good enough. You can make mistakes and still be capable and talented. You can let people down and still be worthwhile and deserving of love. Everyone has disappointed someone they care about. Everyone messes up, lets people down, makes mistakes. Not because we are inadequate or fundamentally inept, but because we are imperfect and fundamentally human, and expecting anything different is just setting yourself up for failure, because nobody is perfect. So remember that, because these other cards around here are all so wonderfully positive. But bear that in mind. That's the way it is for you this month. Well, splendid. I really enjoyed doing that, I must say. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I did providing it to you. As I say, I really do enjoy doing these monthly readings for you, so please drop me a note of appreciation on the channel and give my morale a bit of a boost, and keep that virtuous circle going around. I've got to say, it's always good to see you each month, and we're getting ready for the next month. Now, before the next month, though, just remember one thing, and that one thing is this, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. So until then, it's bye for now.